Hello again, and today we're doing something different. I want to talk to you about emergency preparedness. Now, being prepared is way easier than you think and probably a lot more important than you think. And of course, recently there have been major fires in California that have caused a lot of people to have to evacuate. They've lost their homes, but also there were the hurricanes in the east coast of the US, and then multiple things are always happening. And it's so good to be prepared. So I want to go over how I am prepared. I will show you my cache and then give you a few things that I'm doing to improve, but also things that you can be doing to prepared. And I sort of have different levels of how I'm prepared. I'd say there are three, and I'm going to get started, show you around what I have, and just encourage you for how to do this because I am completely new to this. I only started really working on this a couple of years ago. I started out really small, just with getting things in cans from the store, and then I actually started learning to can and to preserve. So let's get started. So first of all, this section here is my canning section, obviously, and I have extra jars up there, and I got this sturdy shelf from Costco. Now, I'm going to tell you, first of all, I am on Vancouver Island where there is a chance of an earthquake. And that's actually what started me doing this, because I had heard you really should be prepared. And I was looking at these costly kits and I was completely overwhelmed and I didn't know what to do to get prepared. So I kind of just froze, but I was worried. Now, yes, I do realize there is a chance of an earthquake and I do need to fix this shelf to the wall, first of all. And I want to have like straps that go around just so that, I mean, I think stuff would fall, but I want to prevent that as much as possible. And I just haven't got to it, which is my bad. So there are several things here that I need to improve my game on. And yeah, so I'm going to show you. Now, this section here is more of a short-term sort of prepper stash preparedness, if you will. These are foods that will last for years because I have canned them, but that is not my goal. These really I have made for the purpose of having easy to cook meals, but also in the case of a power outage. So I'm going to turn you around and I'm just going to show you what I have, and then I'll let you know about how these are just so useful if need be. These are some, I'm not going to go through everything, but this is the potato section. These ones are gross. That was the wrong variety, but they work out okay. But these, first of all, so handy to have, and you can roast up potatoes any old day, and it's lovely. That is a delicious soup back there. This is a ready-made meal. Okay, so we had a power outage a couple of months ago, and we didn't know how long it was going to be. And we ended up, trying to get to a restaurant, and the power went out there just as we got there. It was just citywide. So I just heated up some of these and it was great. And we'll get to more details on that in a second, but this is so doable. I also have these chicken thighs that I have pressure canned, and these are great for lunches, but also in the event of an emergency. We also back there have some tomato sauce. I've got broth. Again, a lot of this is just for my cooking, but I want to keep on top of it in the event that we are without energy, but we can stay home, and we're getting to evacuation soon. This is some cooked chicken, and there's some more broth, some beans, sauce, pickles and salsas. Pretty irrelevant as far as prepping goes, except for that there would be like a little bit of nutrients left, not a lot, but at least there'd be fiber. And there's some salsa. So down here, I have protein powder. Now this would be great in a long-term sort of situation if you had to for weeks or whatever. That will give you protein. I've got some shredded up cucumber that I freeze dried, and I'll get to freeze drying in a second. And then I've got some zucchini. I have protein cookies, which are mostly just my guilty treat. This is something I will get to in a second. More beans. Yeah. And so then just like some supplies, I've got a big thing of flour here. And then in here I have To actually top this off, but I do have some navy beans. I've got dates. I have got other beans, and I've got some cashews. So in December of 2018, we lost power at our house on Vancouver Island, where it's very windy and we get windstorms. We lost power just before Christmas. I think it was December 21st. And we were without power, friends, for 3.5 days. And I was lucky because I could go to my grandparents' house. They were still at their house. And I took the kids there. My husband stayed at our house because we didn't really want to leave our house unprotected. As you could see in California, there were a lot of people, their homes were being looted. That's not something we wanted. But so my husband stayed here. Our house was 9 degrees Celsius, which I think that, I don't know what that is. I'm trying to don't do public math, okay? But anyway, so we were without. And this is what really, really inspired me to start prepping. And that is I opened up a box that I had thought that I had prepared for earthquakes and emergencies before. And I was like, you guys, don't worry. I've got us. I open it up. There are old granola bars. Okay. These granola bars, I don't know why, but I still kept some. I guess I thought that I could still use that stash, even though I had started all of this. My husband tried one just a couple of months ago. One of these granola bars was from 2009. It was 15 years old. He took a bite and he almost threw up. He spit it out right away. But so anyway, all we had in there was granola bars and Mott's like applesauce, which, you know, wouldn't be terrible. Of course, they were expired. And there also were some batteries and some lanterns, which are important, but not enough. We needed to go further. We needed to go deeper. So let's go to the next. I'll do this section after. But over here, that's our Lego wall. You wouldn't believe it, but I'm a minimalist, and that drives me crazy. But we gotta be able to display things a little bit. So I make kombucha quite often, a little less in the winter, and I'm trying to get into kefir. So I need to see if my grains are at the mailbox. But this is just like soap and stuff and the bottles for that. But, you know, helpful. So this section is another thing I need to do some maintenance on pretty quick, and we need to prioritize that. So first of all, I have got the note of what's in this box. This is our evacuation kit, and there are 4. So there should be enough for a month of food if we had to evacuate. Now, we are on Vancouver Island. We are landlocked, or not landlocked. Is that the word? I don't know. But we would need a ferry to get off the island. If there was something huge that happened, I don't know what would happen. Are we going to have to go in the woods? Like what? So we have these emergency supplies, and I have cat food on there. I don't know if we would take our cats. We probably wouldn't in that situation. In the event that we are staying home, something is wrong, I do have cat food, which I think is really valuable for the cats, obviously. And so that's just where we keep them. I also have medications, very important. I will also get to that in a second. I have a can opener. I have life straws. Now life straws, so we have a creek near us, but it's dry in the summer. So you need to keep water in mind. Now these, you can drink water through them and it purifies them. So I've got some of those. I got those at Costco, but you can also order them off of Amazon. I also have medication in here, and I will get to medication in a minute, but this is medication and it has expired, but I'm not worried. It's only been expired for a year. And your pharmacist, depending on what country you live in, I'm in Canada, and I believe it was, I mean, obviously it was totally legal for the pharmacist to help me out. I said, I want some emergency supplies. So I have 2 weeks worth of medication. And one thing I should do is put them in a little kit. I also have spices, just because, I mean, not necessary, but the meals that I put in there were like tacos and really, like this is the initial prepping I did, which involved buying things from the grocery store. And I'm going to tell you, this route could seem really expensive at first, but just work 1 week at a time, 1 day at a time, And I mean, maybe you're not going to plan on having huge meals, but so what I have in here is I've got meals. One is it's like a chicken stuffing meal because I do have canned chicken. I got this at Costco as well. Because we're going to want protein, carbohydrate, and fat. Like those are things that will keep us alive for a really long time. Say there was a major earthquake and we were able to stay home, I would probably stretch it a little bit. We would be eating a bit lean because better safe than sorry, right? So that's the first one. I'm not going to go through all exactly, but just to show you, like in each one, I have got the Post-it note of what's in there. There's pasta, of course, a very good thing that will last a really long time. A lot of canned foods. There's the stovetop dressing, evaporated milk. And okay, so over here, there's a couple of other things that are of note. So another thing you can do, so if you don't have a freeze dryer or you don't want to invest in one, and I will put mine, link it below for you if you want, if you're like, you know what, now's the time. Because I think actually freeze dryers can save you a lot of money in the long run. They're also so handy because you have your ingredients all of the time. Are you ever like, oh, celery, never run out of celery again. So anyway, you can also buy freeze-dried food online, which is very, very expensive. This is freeze-dried ground beef, and this will last for 25 years. Same with the stuff that you freeze-dry yourself. I mean, occasionally things may get punctured, but they will. I also have the recipes, which basically is just throwing stuff in, like the turkey dinner, which is stuffing, cream of celery, 2 cans of turkey meat, and I'm, of course, just going to use chicken meat, green beans, evaporated milk, turkey gravy. Like that's it. Tuna casserole, chicken wild rice, chicken casserole, taco soup, pasta dinner, and chicken chili. So that's 5 different kinds of meals I can make. I also have a big thing of oats from Costco. I'm a big Costco fan. You will learn if you watch this channel like usually I'm cooking. I love Costco. So I also have got some alcohol hand sanitizing wipes. If you're going to need to be able to wash your hands, and you're going to be surprised at how hard that is going to be sometimes. When our power went out that time, we are on a well, and that means we have a well pump. Now, without power, our well pump can't pump. So you're going to need some kind of source of water. And what I did at the time, we had because it was December, it's very rainy on Vancouver Island, we had a wheelbarrow that just happened to be sitting the way you wouldn't want it to sit in the rain, but it had collected a ton of rainwater that was beautiful and crystal clear. So I went out, I grabbed it all, put it in a pot, had this big, huge stock pot boiling on the stove because we do have a propane. Our stove is propane because of where we live, and that was really handy, and I'll get to that in a bit for you. But I always had hot water. Initially, I boiled it for like 10 minutes, rolling boil to get rid of any microbes, and then I had hot water. But you really start managing your water very carefully in a situation like that. The last one, just more supplies, more ground beef, maybe a bit of rice-a-roni. So let's talk about water again real quick. This here is the water that I have. That's one of the things that I need more of. And this great big thing, oh, it's so big. Oh, it doesn't look that big, but it's very heavy. And I can't remember how big it is, but I need to get more of these. This is 20 liters. I need to get more of this because this would not last long. Before you put it in here, you need to treat it. So look that up on your government or whatever. I looked it up for BC where I am and what it suggested. And it was like something like half a teaspoon or something of bleach just to purify it. So if we had to evacuate, my husband or one of the strong guys would be taking this with us. In the past, I have had bottled water, but oh my goodness. It tastes so plasticky so soon. You also need to rinse this out. My friend Allison from This Prepared Life just posted something on Instagram today about that, saying you need to refresh your water every 9 to 10 months, I think. So put a reminder on your phone. And then you can look through all of your expiration dates. And if you're anything like me, you're not going to care that much about those for at least a while. But like I said, 9 months, or from 15 years was a little too long with the granola bars. So we have got our storage that is really handy for a power outage, right? The things that I cooked my family that time when we had that power outage, it was, well, we didn't know how long it was going to be out, but it was just things from the fridge and freezer, but that wouldn't last forever. And if you don't have a generator, which we did not at the time, you're going to lose a ton of food. So you need to be prepared for that. We also did not have a fireplace or anything. So we actually got a fireplace installed. It was not cheap. And I'm so glad we have, because we still, like I said, we have had a power outage that lasted 2 days, a year or two after that first one. And then that's actually what really inspired us to get the panel set up for our generator, because during that one power outage in 2018, I ordered a generator from the Costco website right away. I was like, that's it, we're getting a generator. But I didn't go through to the trouble to get the panel installed. Now we have it installed. So if the power goes out, we have a whole setup. And for me, I'm a very petite 5'1" woman, but I could set it up myself if I needed to. One of the kids could. I even have instructions for myself on my phone laid out, and I think I'm going to print them and put them in the panel for how to switch it over. But it's very doable. So the ultimate goal is that you never need to use these things, but even for us with just a power outage, we do. So that is the bug out section, like your emergency evacuation. This is sort of more my, like, it's a power outage, and my everyday cooking section. Over here, and I'm working on all of this. This is again part of a pantry, you know, and then also the emergency long-term supply stuff. First of all, we just have things like this quinoa. That says till 2026 unopened, but I'm sure it would still be fine. A whole lot of coconut and just some other pantry staples. This stuff would last for quite a while, which is great. One of the things I did, because I like to have protein for lunches, is I have this salmon that I bought locally. It was locally caught and from St. Jean's Cannery, and that would last for a little while too. Also great, omega-3s. I've got AG1. I did a sponsorship with them on my other channel, and I've even got those, which would be helpful in the long term. We have got olive oil. We have got avocado oil, which is great because I ran out upstairs, so I can take that upstairs. So it's good to be prepared, because with the shortages of food during the situation that happened in 2020 with everything, and with the shortages, there were a lot of people who they were like, toilet paper. And I do like to make sure I have extra toilet paper on hand, partially because water is an issue here, but also just knowing how people are. But even there, anytime that we seem to run out of something, there's a run on it. And we ran out of sugar here in Canada, not ran out, but there was a shortage of sugar in Canada not long ago. So I just make sure I have extras of a lot of the staples, because I don't want to run out of sugar. We ran out, or it was running out at Christmas last year. So I just try to just be a little bit ahead of things, which is handy. Now, you might be like, I don't have the space for all of this. And I totally get that. For us, we're in a large house. We just are. So we're going to make use of the room. But you can, first of all, this isn't even optimized for proper storage. You could make it work. You can find nooks and crannies to put things. And in fact, I think it's probably even better if you have stuff spread out a little bit more than I do here, because this is in my basement. And if something went wrong, could we even access all of this food? I think at the very least, we probably need to move our evacuation stuff to a different part of the house, maybe closer to the garage, but I keep delaying that. Anyway, but you can put things under beds, in closets, all sorts of things. So again, we have sugar. In an emergency, having sugar would be handy. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but I'm a nurse, a registered nurse. We need a certain blood sugar if it gets too low. I mean, your body knows what to do, but especially if you're diabetic, having those emergency supplies on hand, having sugar accessible, you wouldn't need much, but could be a lifesaver. So let's get to the long-term stuff before I get to just a few more things I would do. And I'll show you a couple things upstairs. So this is partially just, well, this is mainly stuff that I have saved for my own enjoyment with cooking. I grow garlic. This is some of my freeze-dried garlic. I used my food processor to chop it up. I didn't chop it up fine enough, but I certainly could go back and chop it up again. We have got mushrooms. Again, so handy when you're cooking, but in a long-term situation, these are vegetables which are very nutritious that would be helpful in the long term. One of the healthiest things you can eat, blueberries. I got these from a friend locally and I freeze-dried them, and it was, oh, and I'm telling you, in January, there's nothing better than having some fresh, well, not fresh, some tasty blueberries that are freeze-dried, a delicious crunchy treat, so healthy. And I'm going to freeze dry on this channel probably some snap peas from Costco when they come back, because our Costco is very small. Zucchini. Such a good ingredient to thicken things, to add in whatever. And these jars, I just use a little vacuum sealer, which I will link below. So the rest of this section, these are, and I need to organize this. And you might say, like, did you say you have a decluttering organizing channel? Yes, I did. But I also am very, very fallible. So we have got penne. This is an MRE. This meal, if there's a power outage, which there will be, I can throw some boiling water on this, let it sit, and it will absorb. These meals rehydrate so well. Things that don't rehydrate well, maybe some like breads. The lovely lady Brooke at Freeze Dry Society, she has done some things that didn't rehydrate very well. I was thinking bread, but maybe not. So I've got the penne. Milk. I love drinking tea, and I have a son that's obsessed with milk. Now, in a real emergency, tea would not be number one, but it's really handy to have freeze-dried milk. Now, when you're rehydrating this, I'll tell you right now, your home freeze-dried milk, use hot water, not boiling, and then let it sit for a bit. More milk. It's very helpful to have a friend when you fill these up. My husband helps me. I cooked rice, and I have that here. This will last for 25 years, this cooked rice. You just add water to it. It's already cooked. It absorbs, 10 minutes later, it's done. Mushrooms. Quinoa. This is cooked quinoa. So handy. Also, a very good ingredient for things like granola. We have got more blueberries. I am going to get better at organizing this. Onions. Having onions freeze-dried in the long term, great. But in the short term, so handy to have these ready to go. We have got guacamole. Now, guacamole is so high in fat that it will go rancid. So don't try to store that for too long. Jalapenos. I won't be growing any more jalapenos this year. Blueberries, rice, onions, I think, jalapenos, and celery. I did mention, so I grow celery. I love growing celery. It's just so handy and very satisfying to grow celery. But one of those ingredients where, first of all, in an emergency situation, we have got vegetables. That's one of the things that I think would be harder in a long-term situation, would be getting enough vegetables. So I think that is why I kind of prioritize that. Okay, welcome to my stove, which is dirty, and I'm going to pretend I did not move all of the morning dishes over there. Now, one thing you're going to need to realize is that you need to be able to cook your food. We have a great big pot, like a Dutch oven, that we could use to cook outside if we needed to. However, being on Vancouver Island, it might be raining crazy. Who knows where we are? So what are we going to do in that situation? We're going to have to figure that out. We have this stove, which is plumb for propane because there's no natural gas where we are, and the person who built the house wanted a gas stove. So that works out great during a power outage. However, that's finite. It's not going to last forever. We actually have to bring the bottles in, which is probably a good thing. if you think about it, say there was like a great big disaster. But another thing I want to point out is if you don't have electricity, you might not have trouble cooking. So I have this, there's more guacamole. I have an Instant Pot. Now, I can cook with the Instant Pot, and I have, because we do have a generator now. So I suggest getting a generator. Again, that may not be a long-term solution. I don't know if we can even run our generator more than, say, a couple of days with the amount of fuel we have. And so I have said to my husband, we need to get more fuel for the generator. Another thing is I want to have a thorough inventory of everything. Now, I love Jessica from Three Rivers Homestead, and she does her pantry challenge in January, which is well underway. And I was busy getting my membership together for my other channel, so I wasn't doing my inventory yet. However, I am planning on it, and I want to do an inventory from my fridge, my freezer, and my outdoor fridge and freezers there too. This is a stand-up fridge and freezer. That's just how the house came. It looks fancier than it is, but we do also have a couple of freezers outside because I wanted to have meat at the ready. So we have a lot of meat. If we needed to evacuate, we could take that with us. If we had to stay here for a longer period of time, we have that as well. So you need to be able to cook it. So maybe get a generator, even a camp stove would be a good situation. Like I said, I want to have an inventory because then I know when I need to replace things. Like as you saw in those portable totes, I think that we've used a few of those supplies. I know the cat food isn't in there anymore. And there's a couple of other things that need to be replaced. Another thing, again, of course, is water, as I mentioned. So this is my sink, and we don't have water without electricity or with those totes, or with those cans or whatever. We did get a cistern put in outside, so we could access water on our property for a while, which is great. Again, if you need to evacuate, you want to be able to take that with you. And an emergency kit. As I mentioned, I'm a nurse. That's not going to get me very far if I don't have bandages or things like that. You're also going to want to have some clothes if you need to evacuate. Once I took part in a thing at work where there was an emergency guy who came in and he said, go to thrift stores, buy shoes just from the thrift store, keep them under your bed. Because if there's an earthquake or something else that happens, you're going to need shoes. And you need them close at hand. So have those under your bed. I always have my Birkenstocks as my sandals. So I'm good, but the rest of the family, they need to have their shoes. And again, if it's pouring rain, because it's winter here for half of the year, that's an issue too. A Jace case, I've just seen advertisements for this, and I'm in Canada, so I don't even know. I don't think I could certainly buy that here. Maybe there's something comparable. I have family members from the States who come and visit, so I might even be like, hey, bring me one of those. If that's legal, I'll look it up. And then hygiene. Everybody needs hygiene. We have those, what are they called? Like the little hand wipey things. But so wet wipes are handy to have. You're going to want some towels. Women, or we're going to need hygiene issues. For me, during that long power outage, it was that time for me, and that was a problem, especially without the running water. So make sure that you are prepared. Another thing that I think is really important is to have some cash on hand. You never know what is going to happen. Say there is like a crazy long power outage or you have to evacuate for a fire or an earthquake or something else, and things are down. Having cash may be handy. Who knows? I mean, and also, who knows what the future of all of these things in the world are. I think having a little cash on hand is handy. Also, gas, having extra gas for your car. Now, if I had known how the batteries for electric cars were harvested, I maybe wouldn't have gone that route, but we do have one electric vehicle, and the other one takes gas. And I said to my husband, I would never not have a gas vehicle because I think that's important. And also having gas on hand, not only for the generator, but for the car. During that big power outage we had, which I always keep mentioning, up here, these lights, I had the battery operated little twinkle lights, strung about, which was handy. Another thing you can do is, we bought these from Canadian Tire. These are very, very powerful lights, and we have like 5. There's one in everybody's bedroom. There's in the emergency kit. You can prop it. If you put it like this and shine it at the ceiling, it lights the room up. So really helpful if you're home. If you have to leave, you're definitely going to want to have that in your car. You're going to want a kit in your car, and it's going to have a lot of the same supplies for your house. I am not an expert on that. Mutha Prepper, she is awesome. I will link her below. She's also about like personal safety and preparedness, and I love watching her stuff. Allison from This Prepared Homestead is also really good. We have a ton of battery operated candles and regular candles, which can throw off a lot of heat. And like I said, we got our fireplace installed to keep our house warm, which is so helpful during a power outage now, because it was so cold that time. Now, check out my friends, as I mentioned, and this is a video about me using, or like putting some food into my storage. Stay tidy and mighty. I hope something great happens for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Oh, and subscribe, please.